What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Takeoff. I'm Max Henry, your host, and on today's episode, we have Ihab Yassin, who is a parkour practitioner from Germany, known as Little Parkour Hulk on the Instagrams. And many folks may know him as being a incredibly talented and vocal parkour athlete who has dwarfism. And thanks to his dwarfism, he has a really unique style of parkour. He, I think, is able to use spots in really innovative and fascinating ways. And he trains his butt off and has been training his butt off and very vocal about his involvement in parkour in the scene for like the last 15 years at this point. So Ehab and I have been going back and forth about some video project ideas, trying to highlight his journey as a parkour athlete with a very visible disability and how that has positively and negatively impacted his experience. And also, he's really shown a lot of interest in wanting to talk more about how parkour athletes in general can make the space more inclusive and more accessible for folks with disabilities to give parkour a shot and feel like parkour is an activity that they'd be welcome to try and that they can achieve a really fun, engaging, high level at. So, in this conversation, we dive into all of that. We kind of start it in media res. We were having a conversation pre-recording just about sort of the social aspect of parkour and seeing a couple different posts on Instagram. And I decided to hit record because he was already getting into the topic of, you know, how a making parkour more social experience and a less training oriented experience can sometimes make it friendlier for somebody who has a disability or somebody who maybe otherwise might not see themselves as fitting into a training session where everybody is just killing it, doing their own thing, and wants something that's a little bit more relaxed and feels approachable. So we start a little bit in the middle. I go ahead and give him an intro, and we dive a little bit into just the language around this. I wanted to make sure that for myself and for the listener, they feel comfortable using this language. Something that Ihab and I have talked about in the past is a lot of people don't even necessarily know how to talk about this, or maybe they might be intimidated because they don't want to unintentionally offend somebody by using a word that is like disempowering or a word that feels kind of non-inclusive. And so we do a quick talk about language to get things started, and then we go into just some more nuts and bolts of like his experience in parkour, what he would love to see happen in the parkour community to continue to embrace the community of all the amazing athletes out there who do have disabilities that might want to give parkour a shot, and how folks in the parkour community, like myself, who don't have a disability, can basically learn to see what the world is like for somebody who does have a disability, and through that sort of empathetic practice, make the sport again more friendly, more welcoming, and more accessible. Thank you guys for listening as always. Sorry for the long intro, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a place to start since we do jump into things in this episode. Let's go ahead and get started. Here is Ehab.
It's good that it's a social. It's good when it's really social because I mean, like parkour is a when we're talking about philosophy, I think that parkour is was born as a non-competitive sport. So then the social aspect should be really high. So then this aspect about it's too social is wrong because like at the end it's a sport. It should be a sport for everyone because it says at first non-competitive, and second, it's like you decide like how much effort you put in and how you deal with. I mean, like look on Joe. He's doing crazy stuff, which takes a lot of mental effort but not that much, I would say, physical effort. I mean, like, look when he did the
Mm-hmm.
pose slide, for example. You need, of course, like, I would say, a minimum of like strength that you can hold the pole and slide down, of course. But still, like, when he's doing the pose slide, it's a lot of mental thing, especially when it's like a big lamp because they are wobbling that much. So I would say you don't have to you don't have to be like about this. Yeah, it has to be strength and so on. So I guess like it's a different. It's at the end your own definition, how you define it for yourself. So and I think like when you look nowadays, we have a lot of already like bad influence and like a lot of, well, like a, I would say like a poisoned uh society right now. When you look in America, when you look in Europe, you know what I mean? Like there are
Whoa,
a
whoa,
lot
whoa. America is the shining beacon for the rest of the world. Be careful what you. I don't see any problems here at home. If anyone listened to Davis and I's podcast last week, they'll know we're big fans of the current administration. Inshallah.
Yeah, okay, I take it. No, but you know what I mean. Like it's it's
Yeah,
it's like, you know what I mean. Like, and it's
yeah.
so that I think like it's good to have like communities or like sports where the social aspect is really high. You know, because like eh, I guess as much socialized as sport is, as better it is for the community itself. You know what I mean? Like when I, for example, sometimes I watch some skate video or skate clips in Instagram. Then sometimes I just read through like some comments under it, and some mothers commented under it and said like, "Yeah, my son went to the skate sessions and they are so open and so socialized to the young kid." And I said like, exactly, that's the thing what we need. So I think like
Mm-hmm.
we should, I guess like there is no too much socializing, because at
Yeah.
the end, as less socializing as gets, as much more poisoned as gets. So I guess like I would say nah, it's good that we're getting more socialized. So like to create spaces for every kind of movement, or I would say to every kind of community, which we have also outside, like LGBTQ or handicapped or what, people of colors or whatever, you know. I mean, like, so that's the thing. But well, it's
Mm-hmm.
my opinion and it's my point of view. But we will see uh, how this.
Well, your opinion is what we're here for. Let me
Yeah.
introduce you for the listener. Ihab Yassin. Did I correctly pronounce your last name? I always want to ask. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've only read it a million times in our great conversations. Ihab Yassin, welcome to the Takeoff. It is an absolute joy to have you on. And we kind of dived right into it. Before we started recording, we were just chatting about some recent goings on in the classic parkour social media sphere and this sort of constant conversation between the parkour social life and the parkour training life. And I think what you were saying about sort of the benefit of socialization and how having a broad spectrum of social experiences can lead to inclusion is why I wanted to have you on here, because one thing that we've talked about a lot, that we talked about wanting to have this conversation on the podcast, is how to make parkour more inclusive and accessible for people with disabilities, and also how to educate people who are in the parkour community right now that want to create that space but maybe don't know how, and need to hear things like just the simple stuff. What language should we use? How can we make our spaces more welcoming and accessible for people with all kinds of different disabilities? So maybe the best place to start before we dive into all of the fun sort of like called socio-cultural things is language, because I know that for me, as somebody who doesn't want to give someone the wrong impression when they show up to a jam, for instance, or if they're taking a class at a gym that I'm coaching with, um, let's just kind of talk about what kind of language, and I'm sure also this differs internationally. So I know, for instance, um, that when we're talking, a lot of times we use the word handicap. I've heard from friends that I have with disabilities here in the States that that is kind of seen as more of like an old school word here. And often many of them prefer to just say like disabled persons or persons with disability. But in general, would you walk us through kind of how you approach language and just sort of like the basics for somebody who wants to not be an asshole to someone they're meeting for the first time?
Yeah. When I think about it, I see the point of the people in the English speaking countries. I don't know why I use it, because maybe I just were raised with it. But I think like the thing is like we had, or I don't know if we still have it, but we have also this discussion in Germany. It's like um I can't, I like, there are like two words like Behinderung, which means handicap, and then I would say the Behinderung is the pendant to the word handicap, which the people you said or you mentioned right before were trying
Mhm,
to not use it, and then we have the word disabilities, and that's kind of, I would say, the pendant to our Einschränkungen or like Beeinträchtigungen, and I guess like well, when I look at from the, or like when I look at on the German perspective, like how we use it in German, it's like the people want to use it now more like this disability or like slash Beeinträchtigung thing, because Behinderung or like behindert is
mhm,
often used as a insult, and that's why
mhm.
the people now try to use another word. Um, I see the point, but at the end, um, I don't know. It's like I still see like with the word Behinderung, not that, because you. I mean, like it sounds off. It sounds negatively, yes, but like I mean, like at the end, if you say I'm behindert to do something or I'm beeinträchtigt to do something, at the end is the same aspect, you know. So I say, like in my, like when I'm using talking about people with handicap, I use it more Menschen mit Behinderung. So, and I
Mhm.
don't, I see the point, but sometimes I just think like, um, it's it's
Centering the person is often
yeah,
also what I've heard in English is right. It's like as opposed to saying, um, you know, uh, I mean, some people are okay with like an identity first association, like a disabled person, but a lot of people feel like that is now entirely defining someone's personhood by their disability. And so I've often been told and heard that many people find it more normal if they're not referred to in that way, and it's just a person with a disability when you're talking about it.
so yeah, we're back. So yeah, so I see the point about it, but it's like I see it, and I mean like the point what you talk about, like defining thing, that's right, because people want to be defined because of their disability or handicap, but it's like they want to be more defined as they are, like as person. So I see the point, and
Mhm,
that's important. What I was also like underline it, because at the end, you shouldn't like, you should look what people with handicap are capable of it, because like just because somebody has a handicap, it doesn't mean that he, or like a disability, it doesn't mean that he has like he's capable of doing nothing. You know, I mean like if somebody has like a disability of one leg, you see are doing something like Luke Ruben who's doing PK, or
yep.
like even like I mean like you have also like the in the Paralympics you had a lot of disabilities, even different disabilities, where people are capable to do something. Well, you know, so I think like at the end we should, if we are talking about people with disabilities, we should try to look about their capabilities, and to get away from the point where you think like, okay, people with disabilities need everyday care or everyday help, so that we see more the person and not the handicap itself or the disability.
Absolutely. And if you're coaching a class, obviously when somebody if you're structuring a class and you say I want to make a class that is parkour, accessible parkour for people with disabilities, that's kind of where this language I think comes in. It's obviously not like you're making that class and then people walk in and you need to address them. I'm gonna say my name, their name, everybody. Yeah, like it's obviously like when you're talking to somebody, this is a
Yeah.
moot point. But I know that even when we're having this conversation, and this has come up with the two of us, this has come up when we're talking about how to approach it in parkour. I think that there are a lot of inclusivity issues. For a long time, I remember when I was starting, this was true with women in parkour. It was like, well, what do we should we call it a women only class? Should we call it like female parkour? Like finding the language that feels inclusive and empowering when you are talking about it, coming from the perspective of if you are a coach who, for instance, doesn't have a disability, how do you like not set up a weird power dynamic or perceived power dynamic in the beginning? is super important. And now that that's out of the way for the most part, and centering people as always is the most important thing, um, I would love for you if you want to just share a little bit about your journey in parkour, because you to me have always been um, one of the most interesting athletes to watch because of the way that your body unlocks so many insane, interesting possibilities in a space that like I physically cannot even start to do. And I just have always thought that that was so fun and fascinating and crazy to watch. And also like you're the nicest person and you're a blast to train with. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey in parkour and also about how your disability and your parents' maybe relationship with that, and how your relationship with that informed, your journey in parkour when you were starting out.
Okay, well, it's a long
Get as
story.
deep or as shallow as you want.
Yeah, 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 I try to give it deep, but not too that it's getting too like too how do you say like that you lose the overview. Like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it's the like I have started with PK in October, like in like October 2011, and I remembered like that when I have started with it, it was like more like a nice to have sport, so there was not that much be thing about okay, what does PK means to you or to me or whatever. And I remember that when I have started, my parents were not that happy about it, but they kinda well, there was like they kinda tried to convince me to stop it, and then time by time de- got a deeper insight of PK, and then I realized it's something more to be called as just a hobby. And then my parents at some point accepted it, so they kind of, I would say, stepped back and then said like, okay, do it, but just wash out. And
Which is
yeah,
exactly what my parents said too. So to
yeah,
be
yeah,
fair.
yeah, yeah. It's to be fair, but I know, I guess like still they would be happy if I stop it, but
Mm,
I mean like it's the thing about people with disabilities because um it's like like every parent, like most parents, not every parent, but like some parent who has who have kids with disabilities, I have a feeling like they act really careful. They want the best, of course, for their kids, but it's like in my case, it was like too strict, like go to an office job and don't do sports, which kind of destroy your body, whatever. So
mhm.
that's the thing. But in my opinion,
Yeah.
I wanted to do something different, so I said like PK. And then,
Can I ask you
well,
a question
yeah,
about that?
yeah,
Yeah. So do you feel like when your parents' perspective at the beginning, for me, my parents' perspective was like, I don't want you to do this because I don't want you to get hurt. And it looks like it's very easy to get hurt doing this. But they didn't assume that I couldn't do it. And I'm curious if you feel like there's that assumption for a lot of people with disabilities when they start a sport. It's not necessarily just you might get hurt, but it's also maybe there's like a subconscious, you shouldn't be doing this
like
because of your
you mean like
disability, or you can't actually do this.
you mean like that the parents have that in mind, or or do you say like,
Parents or kind of society on a broader scale.
hmm, if, I mean like of course parents because they are most scary, but I guess like it depends on parents and the background and so on. I guess so. It's not every parent, but I guess like the society is more like a I guess like it's more like a thing about okay, society still has this picture in their mind where people with disabilities are like just I don't know. I would okay, that may be like a little exaggeration, like sitting in a wheelchair and do nothing. That's a bit. I would say I exaggerate a bit, of course, but like it's getting in that direction where people like
Mhm.
think like okay, that
Passive.
passive and so on. And yeah, so it's I guess like it's a society thing, and that's why parents who live also in society get maybe or not maybe they get definitely influenced by it. So I would say my parents definitely got it also. So, and then my parents also, but then I don't know, then I would say I just did my sport, went to jams, and then like I remember when I was at Fam Jam, that's like I would say well, which jam would you compare it? Like Fam Jam is like I would say like OMFG, but smaller and not
Yeah,
so
organized
organized, and so it was a little
potential.
smaller, but still one of the biggest international events at that time. Next, although beside to For Love of Movement and other things. And then I
Hmm.
remember that we had a discussion panel, and then I asked like how or if people with disabilities are capable to get money or to earn money, and it was like kind of
Mm,
interesting, or like interesting when you look at when I look at now on it as a 30-year-old man, but on the same time, like really hurtful when you see it as I would say, 18-year-old boy or like 19-year-old boy who just gets it that they don't know it and they try to find a solution or like to find
mhm,
like a answer, but it was not that kind of answer which would which was nice, it was more like we try not to hurt him. So, and I don't know. I guess like I was just pissed, and then but still like I just said like I'm doing this what I think is good. So I trained, and then my school like the school where I went asked me to start like giving PK activity classes or like one activity class. So I said like yeah, why not? And it worked somehow. And then time by time I realized okay, this could be a way to earn money with it. So I find like the way, okay, that's the way to get through it. And I guess like starting to think about like the philosophy of PK was like maybe after Corona, I would say. Like until Corona, I trained, I had fun. I was like still I had this thing like about trying to use social media and other things to show people what people with disabilities are capable of. So that was really early my not my goal, but it came really early in my mind. So that was maybe the first deep insight of thinking about the philosophy of PK. And then yeah, and then like it started with social media, like at first with YouTube, where you upload the first YouTube videos, then with Instagram. As soon it gets like it allowed you to upload clips, so then I started to do it also. And I guess like like in 2021, I started to like upload stuff to try more focus on social media to like yeah, to kind of educate people by not but not by like talking about it, like by more like just doing the sport.
mhm,
And then I would say like the last 3 years or like 2 years, I started like to say like okay, I want to get more into the workshop thing, but like more inclusion. So I said like okay, what capabilities is can I do or do I have to do it? So I started like okay, maybe starting giving workshops for athletes to understand how it is to train with disabilities. So I started to give them disabilities uh, workshops. Like, okay, we're talking about like first of all, like thinking about not not like what negative aspects do you have when you are like getting into the sports with disabilities, like more like what are the positive aspects about the sports, like or like about going to this sport with a handicap, and then like building on that, like we went then to the practical thing, like doing like exercises like okay start with one leg one arm less and so on and so on. And I guess like nowadays or like now the people understand it a bit more, but it's still like not that big because like I have the feeling like I am the only one who does it in that thing. There are not so many who are doing it, and I mean like it's also
mhm,
like a thing about language. And when I'm thinking about Ruben, for example, who is like a great example who could do this, but he's not like educated sadly in the English language, which makes it then harder to give workshops about it. So there are not that many people about it. So I would say it's as we say, it's like a small step on a ladder, but we need to get forward. So nowadays, I try to find a way to get to it, like that we get it more about talking about it, more that the people get more aware of it. But on the other hand, it's kind of hard because like we have like just two well known, and one of them can't speak really English, or you don't hear them speaking English, which is not like a not like a I would say like a blame, because it's okay if we can't speak
Yeah.
English. So don't get me wrong. So it's like then we can just use it by like thinking about the diction, like translate and so on. But also I think like he's more into just showing it, what's also good, what I'm also doing. But on the other hand, I think like you need to educate also this, because like um I have the feeling like you need to like annoy the people, that it's getting like a bigger thing about it. I mean, like it was also with the women. Like women was also like a small thing, and then the women I guess like annoyed of a lot of things, and kind of fight, I would say, um for their place here, which is right.
Mhm.
And now we have like women competitions. We had even the first female PK sport film, and it's still the only one I remember. Gauge pressure. It's still the I don't know. It's like so you know what I mean. Like so it's
You have to watch Queen City again too. That's
Queen
clearly.
City Syria. I forgot it. But like what I want to say is like still we don't have that much female factor. You know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
it's like I have the feeling like it's a
You
never ending fight. So and
you
that's
have to
kind
be
of my
vocal
thing.
to change the status
Yeah,
quo. Yeah. And it's also an incredible responsibility. An an unasked for responsibility a lot of times. So talking about Ruben, I think I'm grateful that you pointed out that he doesn't speak much English, which is fine. There's a huge Spanish speaking parkour community that he also can engage with, and
yeah,
I'm sure he does. Um, Obviously, between South America and Spain, parkour is massive, but uh, for somebody like Ruben as well, it's really difficult when you're in a smaller
yeah,
group that is trying to get more representation, because I mean, my wife Christine for a long time would show up to parkour competitions, and she didn't want to compete, but she knew that there were only going to be 6 women at the
yeah,
event, and to avoid having 2 people just automatically, or 3 people automatically getting podium,
yeah.
she would have to go around and say, "Hey, Sydney, I know you're injured, or I know you're tired," or like Renee, or she would do the same thing
Mm-hmm.
for many, many years. Like, I don't want to compete, but I'm going to, because I want to show any girl that sees a video of this
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
future, or who may be watching the Instagram clips, that there's an active women's division. And it's the same thing. Like, it seems like you're in a very similar situation where for a long time it's just great to be able to train, and somebody who is in the sort of majority, especially myself being the most just like bland vanilla white guy and middle of the pack white guy, I don't have to advocate for myself, because anyone who watches parkour can see 1,000 people that look very similar to me doing it and feel welcome. But it's hard to be in a position where there are only a handful of people who look like you, who maybe um, are like representing a a certain interest group, or in this case, like people who visibly have disabilities that are vocal about them, and folks like yourself and Peyton. I think about Peyton, and Peyton Hanna as well, who is like, I think his Instagram is Blind Parkour.
yeah, yeah.
He talks a lot about that. What do you feel like? Do you mean what would you mind talking about? Excuse me, talking about that battle. Like, do you feel pressure to be an advocate?
You mean like a role model or what? Or what do you mean like yeah?
Yeah, and and also, like, is it frustrating, or how does
It
it feel to want to always have to talk about it, as opposed to just getting to train and having a sort of
mm,
boring, easy
Yeah.
parkour experience.
I mean, like, the thing is, like, I am. It's of course annoying. I mean, like, you want just to train and to have fun and so on. So yeah, it's hard, and I mean, like, nowadays I see myself like not so motivated to upload stuff because uh, I don't know. It's like I see like I mean like it's an I would say a natural a normal way of a sport that it's getting more and more high quality and so on. So don't get me wrong, and it's a good thing and it's important that, but I guess like it's still I have the feeling like we kind of lose through this, like we are going away from the thing about like that PK is for everyone and should be seen as a sport for everyone because like I mean like I'm working with a lot of kids and I know that when I showed sometimes like videos about for example Matthias Meyer and Lisa Eckert, I know that a lot of people are uh like scared and they kind of define PK as something where you I don't know jump over buildings and even like when I meet new people that are like oh so you are like doing it from a high like from rooftop to rooftop and I say like it's like of course it's a part of it but on the other hand it's like not a part of it. I mean like we have a lot of
Hmm.
like cool guys who are also well known, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I have the feeling like getting lost in this like big thing, you know what I mean? Like so I
Yeah.
I wish so I mean like I wish there would be like three or four different not waves like directions of parkour. Like you have this crazy high level skilled and high level style thing where you I don't know like just bringing out big tricks and so on. Then you have this nice
Hmm.
flavor style, which is also good. And then this third thing where it's like just happening, like where you have to be fast, like getting from fast from A to B, which is also thing. But then and that's kind of missing like the aspect where people are like having like a part where they can like don't fit maybe in all of these three things and handicapped people could be like it's and just be like having their own like kind of part as women is has so I think like it's nice but as you said it's hard because like I'm the only one and I have the feeling like nowadays I it's like it's all like depending on me, you know what I mean, like it's
Hmm.
like if I don't do anything then nothing will happen. And I don't mean it in a like selfish way. I just see it like as a well, when I don't do anything, I don't see it. I don't have the feeling that there's something happening for handicapped people at all, or like for
Hmm.
people with disabilities at all. So, and that's why I'm often like just, I would say tired and I'm not really willing to like do it. And on the other hand, at the end, I know it is on me. So, and then I have to do, not I have to do it, but I want to do it because I want to make it easier for other people with disabilities to get into the sport, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I mean like there are a lot of people with disabilities, like even in the Arabic area. I know they are crazy and so on, but at the end they are like it's good and they are like doing their shit and so on and so on. But I don't know. It's like I guess like people see it and say crazy, but at the end it doesn't change anything, And I mean, like, for example, they are
Hmm.
crazy as hell, but I still don't see them on any events. You know what I mean? Like, so I have the feeling like, so yeah, I guess like it has
Do you
to.
feel like approachability is so I was going to ask you two things that I think maybe will help kind of clarify this for the listener.
Hmm.
The first thing I was going to ask you is how do you make parkour feel more approachable for somebody that sees a parkour video that has a disability? Like, how do you get that person to who's on Instagram or on YouTube to go, "I can do this," and then I'll ask you the sort of follow-up question after that.
I mean, like show them a video of people with disability who do parkour. Like, I mean, like Ruben, like me. Okay, now it's getting like then that's the first thing you could do. But and it's okay and important. So that's the way how to do it. But I have like the thing is like I have the feeling, and that's okay. Like PK people are like not every community, of course, in the whole world is doing it, but like a lot of communities, I don't have the feeling like they try to do it active. I know another part, another couple, and that's good. Like I know Emotion Academy is doing this. I know in Berlin it's doing this. I know uh, in Hamburg is doing it. So there are quite a few who are doing this, and that's really
Mhm,
good. Mm, but I have the feeling like, and that's the problem, I guess. It's like as long the classes are like held from people without handicap, I guess like the people with handicap doesn't feel I would say like doesn't feel like or can't imagine to do this, Like I mean like when
mhm.
I have started
It's a
with
harder
yeah,
connection.
it's hard. When I have
Yeah.
started with PK, like I was the only one with a disability, obviously. And then I was training, and then I guess like when like a former friend showed me like a video of a French dwarfism guy, Wolf. Then I
Mhm.
was like, okay, then I'm
Yeah.
capable. You know what I mean? Like, so it's
Renaissance wolf
yeah,
throwback.
throwback.
Yeah.
So like in the beginning thing, and
And there's also Max Runham,
yeah, Max Runner from England,
who
but I haven't seen
yeah,
him.
one arm and a
Yeah,
massive
but I
Capaz
haven't.
Prix. He doesn't train as much anymore. He's a
No, no.
musician full time now. Yeah.
As Wolf is also not training that much anymore because he has things. Um, I have the feeling like it's nice that they're offering it like the classes and so on, but still like I have the feeling like that's it, and it's like I have the feeling mm, we have like it needs to be more like to be more seen. Like I don't know, doing some
Mhm.
video projects like Great Gatecrasher. And obviously, it makes no sense to start like a competition when there are like just two people with handicap who are doing PK. So obviously, but I think like sometimes I just think like we are maybe PK people are just too late and like we're offering it and that's it. Maybe sometimes we need to go to like schools with disabilities to get the people from there.
Mhm.
And
Or offer, I think that's a great point, is that people don't reach out and offer. If you have a parkour gym, for
yeah,
instance,
yeah,
Apex is my local gym, I don't think that we've reached out to, uh like, Colorado has a huge school for the blind, for instance. And obviously, again, that becomes potentially a representation and education issue where it's like, do you have a coach who is capable of delivering like a safe and engaging experience for those students that have a specific disability, whether it's blindness or dwarfism or something like that. And if you have a coach who potentially has a visible disability or has experience working with students that have disabilities, that can add credence to it. Because I'm sure that many teachers at a school like that would go, I don't know if parkour is a great fit for my students. And this is also something that I wanted to kind of talk to you about. My second question, which is that a lot of times when we talk about bringing people into parkour, we emphasize like, I think you're totally right. We emphasize visibility, and I think that needs to be the first place. The other thing though is I also don't feel like we talk enough about how parkour has changed your life or how your experience of parkour has been. A lot of times it becomes questions of like, well, what are the difficulties doing this? And I want to hear what all of the positive things are that you've gotten out of parkour. because for me, I can list them off and I love talking about them. But like you were saying, when you started parkour and as you slowly kind of you went to Fam Jam, you got more involved in the community, you got coaching. What has doing parkour done for your life that you don't think would have happened otherwise?
I guess like I would say that I guess like the first thing is like that I kinda found like a sport where I
You're
can,
jacked,
yeah, and
first of all.
check, okay, maybe that, but like I
I
wouldn't
mean,
say the jack thing. I would like more say like the thing about found like finding a sport where you don't have to be like to don't like have to be in a competitive character. You know what I mean? Like just going out and
mhm,
to train and to have fun and do whatever you want. Like and that you don't need anything. Like you don't have to pay for any like obviously for the lessons, but like nowadays you can just look in YouTube and go out and start it by yourself. You know what I mean? Like so just go out, train, look after walls or like other things or other obstacles where you can like start and to train with it. And that's what I like. That's
mhm,
why I'm doing it, and that's changed a lot. So and it kind of gave me like the opportunity to do the inclusion thing, and I mean like not just the inclusion thing about like people with disabilities are like capable of like training PK. It's like even the possibility to go to schools and to get in contact with kids so that they learn the how to behave or how to uh, live with people with handicap so that they see and
mhm,
understand okay how it is. So I'm going often to primary schools and then I just teach and that's it. And that's how call it like the living inclusion or like the yeah it's like or like the practical inclusion, like you go to school and you just teach PK, and but time
mhm.
by time the kids see you as something normal and then they realize okay, people with disabilities are not that different as people without disabilities. So that's the thing how I do it. So that's kind of gave me the opportunity to do this. So that are of course obviously the best things I could have, and I'm now living from it. And like a lot of even primary school kids have fun with it, and they're even good to learn it, and I even able to teach them and to show and even to teach them tricks or like moves which I can't do. But at the end, I have the capability to teach them with words so that they understand it, and I managed to get some good kids out. So you know what I mean. So at the end,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. So that's a lot of positive things about PK. So at the end, it's not just everything bad. So it's just like a thing about how could it be better and not, because at the end
Yeah.
it is good, but still like it could be better because like the life, I would say there's never like an ending part. It's every time changing and every time going forward, and there are every time things where you can get it better. So that's the
Mhm.
thing. But of course, it's not
Yeah.
everything bad.
Yeah, and I think it depends on who we're talking to because when you're talking to the parkour audience, like someone who maybe has never seen parkour or they've only seen, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
the rooftop jumps. And I like that you have Matthias and Lisa as examples because they're obviously incredibly high level, but then they also have made the video. I don't remember what they called it. I call it micro parkour, but they're like sort of low impact video that they made, which was like sort of emphasizing all the sort of smaller landscape features and interacting with
Mm-hmm.
those. Parkour people know and don't need to hear like, well, parkour helps me problem solve. And if I can't reach something when I'm out shopping, it's really easy for me to just like find solution in the environment and climb up. And like your body is obviously incredibly capable
Yeah.
of very high level movement things that most people, whether they have a disability or they don't, are not capable of doing. But people outside of parkour don't maybe know that because they see the roof jump or whatever it is, and they don't even know that there are other benefits. And this is a conversation that I think I had with Renee and Lisa when we were talking about filming Gatecrasher is like Queen City, when we filmed that, we wanted to highlight some of the challenges and some of the joys. And Gatecrasher, we are like, we just want to highlight all of the positive experiences because we made Queen City for the parkour community. and they needed to hear about some of the challenges, but Gatecrasher was more for the general community. And for them, it's like they don't need to hear like, well, it's kind of hard to be a woman in the sport. Like that doesn't help a 9-year-old girl who's seeing a parkour video for the first time. They want to see, wow, what an amazing, exciting, inclusive place to be that can turn me into a more empowered version of myself, like these badass women on the TV. And so I wanted to also ask you that question because I feel like when we have this conversation, so much of the time it's directed to other people in parkour. And a lot of times it's not, I feel like I have not heard you get the opportunity very often to be like, Ehab, how has parkour like benefited you? Like what are all the cool things that you love about training?
Hmm.
And I do want to ask you on that theme too, when you go to a spot, what do you look for? Because your dive rolls are messed up. I don't know how you do some of the downward dive rolls that you do, and obviously like you're threading all kinds of other technical things are great, but when you go to a spot, like what makes a good spot for you? What do you look like what do you look for in a spot, and what do you like in a spot?
Mm, it's like I like especially a sport with a lot of walls, like different like walls which are not that high, where I can kind of do some lazy walls or other walls over it. That for example, but I like a sport with a lot of walls, but also I like a sport with a lot of bars where you kind of can flow around and so on. That's also like a nice spot. And or like a sport with walls and bars. And sometimes I'm hoping
Hmm.
also to like get getting a spot where you find like a pose light and next to it where you could do like a pose light is also nice. So that are like the mostly things. Like I mean like it's
Do you have a
interesting.
favorite spot that you're like you love that you just go to regularly,
Yeah, yeah.
or you have been to in the past, and you're like, yeah, that's the spot?
Mm, like in Frankfurt, there's like I mean, like most people hate it in Frankfurt, but I don't care. It's like a it's like a sport on a campus of a university, and there are a lot of small walls, and I can do there a lot of positions. I can do there a lot of cats and so on. So it's nice, and I like it. So it's a nice spot. So I could train there a lot and just doing jumps, position jumps, dive rolls, whatever. So that's, for example, a nice spot. Or like that's an example of spot. Or what else? Like there's like another like spot in the like it's a playground, but it's like a not like this classical one where you just have like slides down and this thing. You have like a spot where you can do a lot of precision jumps and a lot of strides and so on. It's also nice.
Is that one of those like wooden
Yeah,
beam
y-
playgrounds?
yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't
those ones
be.
are sick.
Yeah, wouldn't
Especially
be.
in Germany. You guys have some really good wood
Yeah,
playgrounds.
it's good. It's good. So. And there are some other spots too. So yeah, good spots, and that's kind of the nice. I want to have walls where I can things like I don't I don't have problems or I don't mind if we go into sports or the walls are high but not that far away, so I can even do precision jump and so on. But I like when it's like just one high wall and so on, where you see like okay, you need to be creative. What is at first not a bad thing, but for me as a someone who's not doing so many flips and so on. That's not kind of I would say, my thing, but it's okay. If we're going there, then I'm just enjoying PK TV, so I don't mind. So
PKTV.
yeah, yeah, it
That's a
is.
great
Yeah.
phrase.
So then it's okay, and I'm just sitting and enjoying it. But I'm at the end, it's like every time like the same thing, like about how accessible is the PK spot. That's also the thing.
Hmm.
Like, and I think like I don't mind it because at the end I know that there are spots which are like nice for me and there are spots which are not nice for me, but that's okay. I mean like every time when I'm in a new city where I haven't been ever and then I'm going to a spot, I say like okay, we'll see if there's something nice. If not, then I'm enjoying PKTV, you know what I mean? Like so I try to see the positive aspects of this thing and not to be like negatively. So
Yeah.
and Yeah.
That's a question that I have for you too, because what we were just talking about, what can parkour people do to make things more accessible to someone who's coming into the community that has a disability, and something that I had not thought of is the accessibility of a spot and sort of the like movement diversity of a spot, because obviously a low wall, and this is true, like a low wall for me is going to be different, a little bit different from everybody, but like a very vaultable wall for you is dramatically different than a very vaultable wall for me. And that's something that I think probably a lot of parkour people don't even factor into when they're putting together a jam or they're building a parkour park or any of those things. So, what would be some recommendations that maybe you have for people who, whether they're planning a training session or maybe they're at a training session, how to make the space, like, how to kind of make it a friendlier space for somebody who has a disability to hop in, and maybe it is actually with you or Ruben or someone like that who's in the community, and then also just how to, and we've talked about this one on one, because I do love getting to see you train, and we've trained to get a bit together at OMFG. Like, what from your perspective does training with people look like, and how can people be better at learning to make the actual process of a training, like a training session or a jam, feel friendlier and more accessible?
So like
Big
the
question, sorry.
yeah, no, okay, wait. So like the point of like creating PK parks or um parkour gyms, it's of course a difficult
Mhm,
question because like disability has many faces, I would say. So it's hard. But I would say like I need to think like I would say mm, like uh, I mean like when I'm thinking about like when you have like disabilities which are not seen, like more the mental
mhm.
disabilities, then you I would say don't have to change that much as you build it as a normal PK gym. But like I would say when you do it like for physically, it depends on like if you're having one arm or one leg less, you see Ruben, then it's still able to do it. So I would say that's also still able. But
Yeah,
well,
I think scale is something that, like, I think I see in a lot of parkour gyms, that, like, offering a variety of scale,
yeah,
and that is, like, that makes it approachable for somebody who has a disability that
yeah,
maybe, I mean, Ruben is incredible. His Kong precision is literally bigger than my Kong precision, and his standing pre is, like, almost the same size. It's
yeah,
genuinely insane how talented he is, and I also don't think that, like, I think it's amazing that we have such a great
yeah,
example of an athlete with one leg who is at a world-class level, but I also think that many people who are amputees or are born with one limb that come into a parkour gym may not be at the level that Ruben is. And
yeah,
so when you have a variety of scale, like having low walls that
yeah.
maybe you're like, I don't know how many people are going to use this, you might be surprised. It might be, it might be kids, but it also might be an adult who has a disability that finds that section approachable
Or like
because
or like even other adults,
3 meter pillars
yeah.
are crazy.
Or like even other adults, or like even I would say adults in a
Yeah.
higher age, so like having small walls and so on. So I tried, like I planned some, or I had like the opportunity to be involved in one or two buildings of PK parks. So I tried to make it accessible for everyone. So I tried like to make the walls like some walls less high, other walls higher, and so on to find like a good way and to find a good variety. So I would say when you are like building a PK park, try to include really low walls and like to look that it's like the distance are not that far away and everything else. So that are like one of the things, like or like even like the bars, like not doing just high bars, like even doing low bars for people who are not that high and so on. So that's the thing because I know that swinging things are like one of the most favorite things which PK people looking. in PK parks, and then they are like complaining, oh fuck, the bar is not that high, which I can understand. But then just to having high bars is also not nice for people who are maybe not that big or not that tall. So I
Mhm.
think like it should be also a good variety um of bars from every height. So like having low bar like bars which are like built in a low height and bars which are built in a high height. So
Mhm.
or higher position. So I think like that should be definitely uh should be definitely be in a PK park.
Yeah. And then when it comes to an actual training session, obviously, I mean, you're again, you and Ruben are like, I'm incredibly grateful that we have you because you are both at a very high
Mm-hmm.
level and you've been in the community for so long. So the question of like, how do I make you more comfortable at a training session? It's kind of a moot point because you are a fantastic parkour athlete. You're going to find shit to do no matter what is going on around you.
Yeah, yeah,
And same goes for Ruben, same goes for Peyton Hannah. But
yeah,
let's say like like we're at OMFG or you're at a
yeah.
jam or something, and maybe it's you, maybe it's a different athlete who is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit newer in the scene. What do you feel like an inclusive parkour session looks like to you? Or how can people maybe be a little bit more considerate or aware of like how to engage in a training session with somebody who has a disability? And again, it's like so hard because, like you said, obviously we're using this as an umbrella conversation. It's going to vary widely for everybody, and everybody's in a unique situation.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
it is hard to have that conversation, but just kind of on a
Um,
broad level.
I would say like it's hard because like I can understand when people want having like the same, I would say, challenge and then standing there and then I'm doing my challenge. Mm,
Maybe I'll ask you this maybe in a more helpful way. When I talk with Christine, when we trained together a lot and she was like training every day, something I had never thought of is that when I went to do a challenge that she was working on and I did it easily if it was a power challenge because I just could jump farther than her, depending on the situation, like sometimes she'd find that really discouraging. And she told me, like, hey, there's probably a lot of women in the sport who would rather that you didn't come in and like try to train with them if it just means you're going to flash the challenge that they've worked on for the last 2 hours and are getting frustrated with. So,
mhm.
from that perspective, like if you're working on a challenge, for you personally, do you like it when people come in and try to work on the challenge with you and engage with you in that way? Or do you feel like it depends? Or do you kind of like to create your own bubble that people can come in and out of?
Okay, let me explain it like that way. It's like I don't have a problem when people like when we are training at the same spot and people are doing like a diff different challenge. I find it even more that way better because then we are training together, even if it's like
Mhm.
another challenge. We are training on the same spot so together. So and I find it more like not so motivating and not so like I um I find it more like stressful when I'm like going to my um to like I don't have a problem to sometimes training alone on my channel, but it's like if it's happening that much often, then at some point I think like, yeah, why should I be here? I can also train alone. You know what I mean? Like, so
Mhm.
it's mostly depending, but I would say I would say like it's nice if it would be like more training sessions where we train at the same spot and not so much separated. So obviously it's hard because like not everyone wants to train at the same thing. Maybe they have other things, of course. But maybe it's all, and even if it's not that happening, but maybe like more to interact, maybe to look, okay, what's happening with the other and not like separated. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
that's the thing. I guess like it's more like about the interaction thing. Like when you're training on different challenges. Like for example, when I'm training alone and I see people doing the other challenge, I'm still sometimes looking on it, and if they do it, I'm clapping because I still want to interact with them and give them like the feeling that they are seen. And so, and when I'm training alone and do the challenge, and I mean, like, mostly you do it for yourself, obviously, but like sometimes I just think like, okay, I could be also doing just like the challenge alone without like feeling like, okay, I'm not seen. So then it would be much more for me. I would say it's much more healthier for me to just join alone and to the join alone. And then at the end, if I manage it, then I'm happy. I'm happy about it. And then then I don't have the feeling or don't need to be worried if the people didn't see it because there was no one. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm uploading it, and then
Yeah.
people see it, and then it's like kind of a better way than say like, okay, at least people are seeing that because I'm uploading it. But like if I'm doing it and no one and I'm in a session and no one sees this, then and it's not like that I blame somebody for it. I mean, like they're in their own bubble, so it's fully fine. But I guess like sometimes I would just say like as someone who has a disability, I guess like when somebody is coming in and has a disability and he's doing his challenge and no one is like looking after him and giving like the support or this like the like a good feedback, then I guess like he will
Yeah.
definitely not stay in the sport. You know what I mean? Like so then that's this interaction
Yeah.
thing.
So celebrating like it's celebrating the universality
Yeah,
of challenge, and I think like that is, yeah, I feel like that's a great thing. Like anybody can do that.
yeah,
Dom DiTomaso is a great example. Callum brings this up in his book, which I've
yeah,
been going through for the second time recently,
yeah,
as I'm going to be doing a video review on it. But he talks about how Dom is a really great person at like hyping up a kid who just did their first little 2 foot Kong precision or whatever, and he'll also hype up you know, Thomas from MPO
yeah,
who's doing a 14-foot Kong
yeah,
precision, because it's like that experience is the same
yeah,
internally for anybody. Like when
yeah,
you're pushing yourself.
yeah,
And it also sounds like, excuse me, it also sounds like you're saying that, if you're working at Kong precision and I see you working on it, even if I'm working a different challenge, like maybe I want to try and do like hurdle side flip precision at the same spot, that for you personally, it's like, yeah, that's great. Like that's fun. We're working in the same space. It's not like an intimidating
yeah,
thing. So people don't necessarily need to be stressed about
yeah,
that. Cause that's something that for me, like, that's how I personally feel as well. And I had not considered the perspective that some people are like, oh, it looks like you're coming in and trying to like one up me and do the harder thing at my spot or whatever.
yeah,
And I'm sure that's also person to person. And again, like we said, nobody is represented by any universal thing in
yeah,
in their identity, and everybody has
yeah,
their own take. So like the best thing is always like get a vibe check on somebody
yeah,
and ask like, hey,
yeah.
yeah, do you mind if I work on this side flipper next to you? But I was curious what your perspective was on that, so thank you. I think that's super helpful. I also wanted to maybe last question or last thing that we can talk about. We You were talking about competition, and I'm gonna blow this up on the podcast for the 250 to 500 listeners, avid parkour fans and listeners out there. But we were chatting with Ansel about doing like an experimental competition or something at OMFG, and I might want to try and do something like this in Denver, where we purposefully set challenges that
Mhm.
encourage people to like experience parkour with a disability. So that could be setting something that's like maybe in a much tighter space than they would be, or using a smaller, like lower to the ground feature than they would normally do, using setting a challenge that's like a simple vault, but on a bar that is a lot higher, or a wall that's a lot higher than they would normally do, to sort of replicate that experience,
Mhm.
or, you know, having to do it blindfolded, having to do it with one arm behind your back or one foot
Yeah.
behind your back. What do you think the value would be in an event like that for people who don't have disabilities? And do you feel like they would have fun with that experience and learn something from it?
I guess they would like. I think they will have fun because, like, when I
I would
did,
have fun
yeah, yeah.
personally, but
I think they will have fun. Mm, the thing is, like, at the end, it's like about the educational part, and I think, like, um, it depends on how you address it. If you say like, we are doing this and so on, it's like when you address it like because people could understand it as okay. So if I'm injured, then I can train like this and this, which is obviously good. But if you don't bring the handicap or like the disability part inside in, then it could kind of be like, well, not so much seen. So maybe it depends on how you address it. But if you say like, yeah, we're doing it because we want to like give you at first of it like, and if you address it like this way, like in a way we say like, okay, we did this challenge because on the one hand we want to give you like some ideas how to train when you are really like literally injured, but on the other hand we want to kind of give you an understanding for people, uh, give you an understanding how it is to train it with handicap with disability as all, because we have people in our community and you don't have to even to address their names. I mean, like most people will
Mhm.
understand which people you mean, and so maybe then the people
We've
understand.
name dropped them all on the podcast right
Yes,
now.
so that's the
With
thing. So yeah, you know, so it's a good idea, but at the end, it depends on which setting and how you address it. Because
Mhm.
I guess like,
Making it visible.
yeah, because at the end, I guess like you need, if you want to, and that's the hard part, like mm, to make a sport like accessible for everyone and to get the people to there, you need at first like the understanding. That's why it's good to do the challenge at the competitions. But on the other hand, you need also like the people who can be used, okay, be used is the wrong word, but like can be set as role models, you know. And there's
Mhm.
Ruben, there's me, in a way. I mean, like I don't want to point myself out as like because I'm the one. It's like because Ruben and myself, we are the only like well-known PK people who do it, or like well-known PK people who could speak about it and could like bring the sport forward, you know. So that's the thing. So I feel like it's good, but at the end, it's like if you just do it as a one-time thing in the competition, then at the end it won't like bring nothing. It's
Mhm.
like, as I said once in in one of our talks, it's important to like keep the thing flowing, because if you don't keep the thing flowing, it won't work, you know. So
Yeah.
I think like that's the most important thing about like when we talk about inclusion. It's not like about like it's a one time thing. Okay, we do this and that's enough. So we need to have like a long brief about it, like to get to the communities which we think could be nice for them, because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who already have seen this, so I'm pretty sure about it, but they don't have like the possibilities to access or to have this access, so maybe just to go them. Because as I said, like in Hamburg we have this thing and it worked perfectly. There are every time coming like 8 or 9 people. So, and even if it's like mentally, it doesn't matter. The fair thing is that they have the access to it. So,
Mhm.
and you know, at the end, it's also like a question about motivation. But I guess like when you start when you start doing this workshop, especially with young kids, which having like the like a good mental capacity, like, and even then I guess like they are even willing to do it. So mentally, it's every time a question. And about mental disabilities, I'm sadly the wrong one who can talk about it, because I don't have the understanding about it. So
Mhm.
it's like easier to talk someone who has maybe to not to actually
Yeah.
like
Experience with
yeah.
education in
So the
that.
thing that I can say about the disability part, that there are people like I see them, like I see people in wheelchairs who are like being in a skate park and doing this and all everything. So I guess like when we address them and give them the opportunity, then it helps. But as I said,
Mhm.
it's a it's a thing about like the community of us. So how accessible do we want to do it? And I'm of course want to do it accessible, but at the end it's like a not like a one man show, because I don't want to have it to be like a one man show to see like, oh, Ehab is doing, like I want to do that, we do it together. So
For sure.
at the end, it's I mean, like, yeah, because it
It
would,
sounds like you're giving permission to everybody in the community that
yeah,
has thought about it to try it, and I think that's always something that is good to hear is,
yeah,
like, there's a lot of people who probably have felt like me, and I felt like this in the past. Well, am I the person to reach out to, again, like, the school for the deaf?
yeah,
Or am I the person to start a class
yeah,
that's, like, parkour,
yeah,
for adaptive parkour or parkour for people with
yeah,
disabilities because I don't maybe have experience coaching them, or
yeah,
I don't have a visible disability myself, or whatever the situation is. And it sounds like you're saying, like, there are easy places that people can start, like, if you want to do it, do a vocally say, hey, we're going to have 5 adaptive parkour challenges in our
yeah.
skill comp. And even if they're not necessarily at the beginning set by athletes with disabilities, it's like it is a step in the right direction. Maybe that's the first step. Or
Maybe,
reach out
or
to
yeah,
Ehab, or reach
or
out to
just to
Ruben.
Ruben. Yes, the one says like, or like to make it more understand. I mean, like the thing is like I would say because because it can also happen that that people have the feeling not to see how to do it. So maybe just wish to someone like okay, like Ruben or to myself or like other people with handicap, because I'm pretty sure maybe there are other one, but I don't know them. So just
Yeah.
like I would say, and think I will kind of try to do it again, and I well not kind of do it again. I have it already translated in English, so maybe I will start doing like offering workshops about how to offer coachings for people with disabilities, so that we can kind of talk about it. And then like if parkour gyms or whatever want to have it for their coaches, then they can look at, because I guess like if they have the, I would say, the tools for it, because at the end um it's like Ruben might say we are two people, we can't sadly uh like divide us in many pieces to like go to every gym and be there. So at the end, I mean, like as you see, I got I got taught by people without handicap, so they kind of
Hmm.
find their way to it. So it is possible, and at the end, of course, and that's what I also want to clarify. At the end, it's our, and I speak in for coaching now. It's our task or um our duty, I would say, as a coach, to teach them the basic, but at the end, and that even includes also with people with handicap, at the end, they need to find their own way through the obstacles or to their ways. So because PK is like a sport where you need to find your own way, and there's no right or wrong way. You need to find your own way. But when we can kind of start giving them the tools in a way that it's accessible for everyone, for people with handicap and without handicap, then that's good, because then we kind of made an accessible way and it's open for everyone. So that's what I want to say. So I guess like it's not that deep as many people think, like, oh God, we need to whatever build something. It's at the end, it's just like how to start and how to make things accessible, and then how to like maybe teach them in the next few months or whatever. But at the end,
Hmm.
it's also what I say to myself. At the end, I need to find my own way and to be creative and to find my own challenges, because um like even if I would be, or like even if someone who has not a disability is teaching a kid, he has also not every challenge in his mind, because there are too many
Hmm.
challenges, so you can't set them at all. So you know what I mean? Like, so at the end, I say even to my kids, don't ask me about every challenge. At the end, at some point, you need to find your own challenge. So it's just the beginning. So try. That's what I meant. So I will definitely start to. I don't know when, but I hope soon that I will start like offering my coaching things as like how to coach in a disability setting. But as I said,
Gym owners out there who are listening,
Yeah,
hit up Ehab.
or
Get you a US circuit. You can do like get you a
that's it.
California gym, we'll get you a Colorado gym.
Yeah, that's it. And like the
Hit up
thing
the
is like,
commons.
yeah, and the thing is like, wait, what do I want to say? Um, so that's the one thing. Like to sum it up, one thing is like the educational thing. So to get the tools how to speak to the people with disabilities and how to make things accessible. But on the other hand, and that's another thing that's besides the educational, to kinda um like as we said with Gatecrasher or Queen, what was the thing? I was
Queen City.
Queen
Yeah.
City, like to um to give people with handicap a voice in this community, like to like that they are seen. And I know when I see about people with handicap, most people think like, okay, give EHAB a voice, but I'm especially saying give people with handicap a voice because I want that it's seen as give people a handicap a voice, not give EHAB a voice. So that are the two important things. How I guess at the end we can do Parkour accessible for everyone. So I guess like for example, to make like a video project, which we had already talked about it, and which I need to look again, which video creators or which video things we could talk to. Um, that would be definitely a good thing to do about it also. So I guess like these two things, or even that's another way to do it. So these two ways
Yeah.
are, I would say, obligatory to do this because
Hmm.
without like I mean like if we do like this one way then of course it works, but then you have the coaches who don't know how to teach them, so that's the thing. But even if you teach them, so then it's still like kids won't come if they don't see like a role model. So both sides are necessarily, not one side can't live without the other side. So
Hmm.
that's the thing.
That's powerful.
So that's what
Yeah.
that's just a good summation. So these two things are important, and without
Hmm.
them, without each of them, it won't work.
Education and visibility live hand in hand for sure. So my last question, quick one for you to finish up. I ask everybody is if you could recommend one piece of media, could be a film, a book, a podcast to the listener, what would it be?
Mm, yeah. Okay. Like the first thing which came to my mind was even not PK, but it was like, or I don't know the. Wait, I need to look for the English word because I just know the German word of the movie. Give me a
Hmm.
moment. The Intouchables. It was like a mu.
Okay.
It was like
Yeah.
it's an old man, and why did it came to my mind? Because it shows like a good relationship between someone who is handicapped and someone who's not handicapped. Without I don't want to spoil it that much, but it's like it shows like um how like the handicap like went behind, and it's just like a relationship between two uh different protagonists, you know what I mean? Like so that's what it came
Hmm.
directly in mind. So and I think like
There we
that
go.
that's how we should be society.
Great recommendation, Untouchables. Fantastic movie. Ehab, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a great conversation. I'm glad we
No
finally got
problem.
to have it on the
You're welcome.
podcast. I really appreciate you listening to this one. I think it's super important. I love Ehab's passion and perspective. I think he's just, fighting the good fight and bringing all this motivation into shaping the way that people see parkour. And I think the narrative, again, if you're a regular listener, has come up a lot is how parkour is seen by the outside world and inside our community. The sort of narrative of Instagram performance and training and the elite level athletes versus what a day-to-day training session looks like, and how can we continue to celebrate and lift up the elite athletes who are pushing the very limits of the sport, but also not exclusively define the practice of parkour as just that, and allow people to see that, like, yeah, maybe none of us, myself included, will get to the level that someone like Thomas from MPO is at, or some of the Storer guys, or Ellis. But that doesn't mean that our practice is any less fulfilling or any less rewarding for our individual journey. So continuing to share that message and pushing the boundaries for the way that we see engagement in parkour. So, Ehab, thank you for being on. Thank you guys for listening. As always, I appreciate you. Next week, we've got Flynn Disney. I actually wanted to bump this one up ahead of Flynn's just because I felt like the conversation was pretty timely. We've got Flynn and then Lin Young the week after that, and Camilla coming up as well. So thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you next week.